Here's a direct quote from Apple. First and foremost, we have never and would never do anything to intentionally shorten the life of any Apple product or degrade the user experience to drive customer upgrades. Except you did, Apple. Yes, you did. What is the deal, beautiful people? My name is Ramon. This is Lifestyles Defined. Let's talk about the madness that has been happening, the battery gate, because everything around Apple is some sort of conspiracy and becomes a gate. This one is, this one is for the little people. This is for the non-tech people. This is for all the people out there who has and I've spoken to so many people, and I just sort of poo-pooed them. It's like, what are you talking about? Listen, just buy a new phone and get with it. You know, these things get slower over time, yada yada yada. So many regular people has always been saying, I'm frustrated that as soon as the new iPhone comes out, the old one gets better. And this is not just an Apple thing. This is in general, right? The minute your warranty on your washing machine goes away, the washing machine breaks, right? All of these different things, and we all had the same concept around them. There is some way that the manufacturer of said product is baking in a process to make your older device just suck when a new one hits the market. And Apple is probably, as the number one company in the world, the most valuable company in the world, and the apple of the eye, no pun intended, of the tech world, they have just found a way to validate all of this, right? So yes, I have to apologize to everyone I've ever spoken to that said, yo, my phone is so slow ever since the new one came out. You know what? You're right. You're right, dog. Now, according to what has happened here, Apple's saying this new CPU throttling, which we'll get into in a minute, only affects the iPhone 6, iPhone 6 and newer. So you're looking at the iPhone 6, the iPhone 6S, 7. There's no 7S. I suppose that would be the 8. And, one thing I'll mention later on is it definitely will affect the iPhone 10 next year, or iPhone X, whatever Apple wants to call that thing. So what do we have here? This all started out in a Reddit forum somewhere where one man's wife, and I think he was one of these well-geeked, well-rooted people in the benchmark community, and his wife complained about the performance of his phone, or her phone, and he went and swapped the battery and noticed that the performance did increase with the newer battery. So it kind of snowballed from there, and after pointing many fingers, Apple came out and says, okay, we have been doing what's called CPU throttling. And the concept behind this is because of how iOS works with these lithium-ion batteries, when the battery just gets to a point where it sucks, the phone just sort of turns off. And I've seen this for many iPhones for many years, and I've only seen it on iPhones, where if your battery gets to about 15 or 20%, the phone just shuts off and will not turn back on until you charge it. Whereas with all the Android phones and all the other phones, even Palm Pres, Windows phones, whatever, your phone would get down to 1% before it dies. So there's something that Apple just isn't able to fix. But I don't know if it's the way the hardware works with the battery, or is it a software thing, an iOS thing, whatever it is. Apple has acknowledged that it is a problem, and they aren't quite sure how to fix it. And what they've done is they have reduced the amount of power that the CPU is requiring from the battery in order to extend the life of the battery. And supposedly, I'm still not sure on these details, supposedly by scaling back the amount of power that the CPU is requesting, it also gets around this random shutdown issue when you hit a certain percentage. So that's that. Now, I don't personally. I don't see anything wrong with this, because Apple isn't the devil here. These lithium-ion batteries, they just don't last. And, we've said this for so many years. Your favorite tech YouTubers had many conversations about it, whoever that may be. Hopefully it's me, because we have had these conversations here on this channel. Batteries are often the piece of the smartphone puzzle that just holds it back from true innovation. So we see all of these curved displays, super thin chip modules. We can't get these phones any lighter, slimmer, thinner, or even flexible, foldable because of the batteries. And not only that, in today's world, which I was very happy with my current driver, which is a Samsung, the Galaxy S8 Plus, the battery life on that thing's pretty good. I get through a day continuously every single day. Some days I don't even need to charge my phone. Weekends I don't charge my phone. It was a long time coming to get to this point. I think on the iOS side, the first time I seen that was the iPhone 6 Plus. And that thing would last 2-3 days. And the reason being, not because it's super new battery technology or the operating system is just super optimized, which that plays a role. It's just because they threw a bigger battery in it. Bigger form factor, bigger battery. So the batteries are often the problems here in these conversations, and it's not Apple's fault. I can get behind the approach to sort of limit the way the phone requires power from the battery. Now that's smart. Now I've seen the pundits out there. What's his Renee Ritchie? I think he's over at iMore, and he was on Twitter with a real snark remark like, I don't know why this is a problem. Apple said they were going to do this a whole year ago. And a few people challenged him and say, what the hell are you talking about? Because if Apple came out and said, we're going to intentionally slow your phone down, you bet it would have been big news. I mean, if Apple shows up and says, we're going to take a headphone jack away, the entire internet loses their shit. So something like this, people would have known, people would have heard. So after some research, he then recanted his statement, said, oh, okay, a lot of those, whatever Apple said or proposed at the time, that was an internal message. So not a lot of people knew about it. It was interesting that he knew about it and didn't write about it, but okay. So there's that. I don't think this is a bad move for Apple. However, what I think is the lack in communication is the real problem here. Do not slow my phone. Do not slow down my phone. Tell me, say, look, here's the deal. This battery is going to degrade over time, and it's going to cause this issue. Now, we have two possible solutions for you. One, you can come back to us and replace the battery, and you'll be restored to whatever your full performance of your phone. Or two, we could slow the performance of the phone down, and and then prolong the battery issue. I think if faced with one or two of those two solutions, most people would just return to Apple because you probably have Apple Care anyway, and you won't be paying for this replacement. Would return to Apple and get the battery replaced, so you keep full performance of your phone. Now, I don't consider the iPhone 6s or even the iPhone 6 to be a terribly old device. I mean, if you look at it, if you hold an iPhone 6, it's still got its thing about it. It's still a beautiful device. It still runs many of the games on the iOS store. It still runs many of your day-to-day apps, your Instagram, your Snapchat, all of that, no problem. So it was proven, and Apple did make these chips with these very powerful chips. They can still do some very amazing things today. Why are you slowing them down? Don't slow down my phone. And the issue here is what Apple did was they said, okay, you got us. Here's why we did it. What we'll do is we'll lower the price from $60 to $30 for a replacement battery. Come on in and get your battery replaced. This still does not address the issue, right? It doesn't address the issue that the battery is going to suck in the future. It doesn't address the issue that Apple is going to slow down your phone. What will address the issue is I get where they're coming from, but just don't slow down my phone. Don't just give me an option. Ask me, hey, as part of this new battery protecting longevity, whatever, put a name on it. I'm sure there's a name right that I'm forgetting. They could just ask you, what do you prefer? We noticed that the battery in your phone now sucks, and we recommend that you turn on the battery prolonging feature, but it will come at a performance cost. And until you get to the Apple Store to replace your battery, this is what it'll be. If you chose not to turn it on, you could run into some issues where the phone just turns off when it gets to a certain percent. That's the fix. Bake it into iOS. Let me choose. Don't you choose. So them offering a cheaper battery replacement, them coming out and saying, okay, here's what the issue is, here's why we did what we did, still doesn't fix the issue. Because you're looking at an iPhone 10 or iPhone X. My review will be available shortly. You're looking at that with this super powerful A11 processor that's outperforming all the Android phones and all this other crazy shit. And next year, Apple's going to slow it down? How could you say? How could you say, without giving me the option to allow that slowdown to happen, how could you say you're not pushing me towards upgrading to the next version of the iPhone? I don't think that's fair. I think Apple's lost their goddamn mind here. I think it's just wild that people aren't making a bigger deal of this portion around the issue. It's almost like they said, okay, fine, $30, come get the new battery. And everyone's like, okay, thank you. Like, no, your iPhone 10, your iPhone 8 is going to have an issue in a year. Apple is going to slow it down. They need to give you, the consumer, the option to allow that behavior, right? Because as part of a phone, and I like how Apple phrases it, they would never do anything to intentionally shorten the life of any Apple product. Performance. How fast I open iMessage, Instagram, Snapchat, how fast, or the stuttering that I see when scrolling through Safari on the web, which is a clusterfuck these days, that also counts as the lifespan of a device. Performance, not necessarily battery life. And I can manage my battery life, right? If I know my battery life sucks, I'll make sure that I charge my phone at work. But I can't manage my performance. If you throttle my CPU, there's nothing I can do that'll make that situation better for me. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. And oddly enough, I gave this topic a few weeks to breathe because I had a thought that Apple wasn't the only one that was doing this, because it made sense to me. This is a real problem that isn't, I would say, exclusive to Apple. And I wanted to see if Samsung will come out and be like, well, yeah, we do this as well. And oddly enough, Samsung did not come out and say that. Samsung's got a whole nother problem there, which is Android. So, yeah, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I want to know what you think is the solution. If you own an iPhone, are you happy with what Apple's telling you right now? Let me know. My name is Ramon. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And in the description, the links below, you'll find links to all of our other channels, photography, sneaker channels, heavy gaming channel, all that stuff's there. I'm out of here. Peace.
Well, I guess. And the reason we started Lifestyles Defined is because if we weren't on camera arguing about these things, the technologies, the phones, the iPhones, the Androids, the cameras, the games, we'd be on the phone arguing about it. We'd be in each other's houses arguing about it. So why not just put it in front of a camera for everyone to enjoy it the way we do? That's what Lifestyles Defined is all about. We just